My name is Laura Christmas, and I am a member of a few motor clubs, but predominantly West Suffolk Motor Club and Chelmsford Motor Club. I was introduced to motorsport through my father, who competed when he was younger, and then got me involved when I was 14, and we began with production car trials. From this, we went on to do auto solos and targas, and now single venue stage rallies. Laura and I were both introduced to motorsport through our families, but wondered if we would have found the sport without them. This, along with Laura's dissertation findings and our experiences of motorsport, have motivated us to collaborate together along with the other members of this group to take action and make a difference for the future. We've also been influenced by the work of Motorsport UK and the initiatives such as Girls on Track, which is promoting participation of women in elite motorsport. Although Laura and I are predominantly competitors, other members of our group include events, marshals, officials and organisers. Our group is made up of members of Anglia Motor Sport Club. We're a club of 12 clubs in East Anglia. Laura's dissertation findings and research have promoted this collaboration and initiative. We've put together a presentation to share with you Laura's findings and our ideas, and we hope for your support and feedback as a result. Before I hand over to Laura Cooledge and to share with you her findings, I want to address some potential misconceptions, first of all. So, a large aspect of this presentation will look at discrimination and abuse. So firstly, we need to understand what is discrimination. By definition, it is the unjust or damaging treatment of different categories of people, especially on the grounds of race, age, sex, or disability. What is important to reflect on here is what might be banter or simply a joke to some may be severely damaging to someone else. It is important that we try to put ourselves in others' shoes to even begin to understand how someone else might receive something. Building on that, we then need to think about what is abuse. Abuse is when someone causes harm or distress. It can take many forms, ranging from disrespect to causing someone physical or mental pain. And different types of abuse include physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychological or emotional, financial, material abuse, organisational or institutional, discriminatory and neglect. And once again, although physical abuse is understood and commonly recognised, other forms of abuse are often disregarded and played down as insignificant. We look at more examples of this type of abuse later on in the presentation. So I'll now hand over to Laura, who will share the summary of her dissertation findings.
Hi everyone, and thank you for attending this evening. So I'm Laura Cooledge, and I've been involved in motorsport my entire life. Coming from a motorsport family where my grandfather, my uncle, both my parents and my brother are heavily involved, it was just natural that as soon as I was old enough, I too would get involved. So I started at 14 competing in car trials, and then at 16 I started co-driving in single and multi-venue rallies. So currently, only 5% of Motorsport UK registered licence holders are female. Due to this, my involvement in motorsport and the fact that motorsport is one of the few sporting activities that enables men and women to compete on a level playing field, I felt really passionate about investigating why women are currently so underrepresented. My undergraduate dissertation aimed to help assess this through exploring the experiences and perspectives of females involved in a variety of capacities and disciplines, including competitors, marshals, officials, and organisers. This is an area that no academic research had ever been undertaken in, with previous literature solely focusing on elite competitors and not incorporating female experiences, which does not accurately reflect the motorsport environment. So to investigate the barriers to participation faced by women and find out how inclusive the motorsport environment currently is, 154 females in motorsport, aged 16 and above, completed an online questionnaire. Data collection took place early last year, so findings are very much up to date. Following this, the hegemonic masculinity framework was used to interpret the data and identify and explain the attitudes and behaviours which are taking place within the motorsport environment which cause gender inequality. So as you can see, I received responses from women of all ages who participate in a range of different roles and disciplines. Women who completed my online questionnaire were a variety of ages, and we can see that the number of women in each age group is distributed fairly equally. This could suggest that female involvement in motorsport has been static over the years, with no age groups having particularly more or less participants in. My study received responses from women across all corners of motorsport. This is extremely beneficial, as experiences and perspectives were shared by women who participate in a wide range of roles, which means that we can really look to understand how women feel in a variety of different areas. From an initial look at the data, it could suggest that marshalling is the most accessible way women can get involved with motorsport, with driver and co-driver roles slightly behind in terms of participation. Here is the distribution of disciplines that respondents participate in. Again, it's great that there is input from women across all disciplines so that we can understand the environment as a whole. Circuit racing and stage rallying seem to be the most popular disciplines, which could suggest that they have the most inclusive environments. So here are some of my key findings. Nearly half of all respondents, so 47%, stated that they have felt uncomfortable whilst competing, volunteering, or working within the motorsport environment, and just under a quarter have felt excluded from competing, working, or volunteering because of their gender. This is a really significant proportion of women who either feel uncomfortable, excluded, or both, and a real shame that so many women feel this way. Many women have felt that they aren't catered for due to a lack of facilities, and some of these women have directly withdrawn their participation because of this. 43 discourses emerged whereby women have had their experience, knowledge, or authority directly disregarded, and 17 women have stated that their presence has been ignored entirely at an event. Lastly, 61% of women got involved with motorsport through their family or friends, and 39% of this group was specifically due to their father or partner's influence. This is really interesting, as it demonstrates that most women in motorsport are there because they've been encouraged by somebody who they already know. This shows that for women who currently have no connections with motorsport, it could be really difficult to get involved. So I'm now going to talk through some of the key themes that have emerged through my dissertation. The quotes that you can see were shared with me through either the online survey or interview that I conducted in 2020. And the following slides are just a small cross-section of some of the experiences and perspectives shared with me. So the first thing that arose was that women in motorsport have to be particularly resilient. We can see from the quotes and the wording used by the women that women need particular attributes in order to be accepted into the motorsport environment and therefore continue their participation. One lady said that she is used to male environments, but she still found it intimidating. This questions how women who are less confident and perhaps shyer would find the motorsport environment. The next finding was that female success is not taken seriously. Here are a number of instances where women who've succeeded in their sports have had their achievements mocked or taken away from them purely because they are female. It's a massive shame that women who are talented in their fields and are flying the flag to show that women are equally as capable as men are being subjected to these behaviours and comments. A theme that I wasn't expecting to be quite as prevalent as it has been in this study is the number of experiences women have shared of sexual harassment. For many women, this study has been the first time that they've been given a voice and could speak about their experiences and perspectives. So a number of instances have been shared, and something that's especially worrying is the proportion of cases whereby the perpetrator is in a position of power. So positions here include a scrutineer, MSA steward, a team owner, and clerk of the course. If individuals with significant authority at events, and they're very prominent at events, are seen to be practicing these behaviours, then it may normalise sexual harassment within the environment, as others will see their actions and may think this is acceptable. The next theme is that female experience and knowledge is commonly disregarded. Here are a number of instances whereby women who are predominantly volunteering within motorsport have been spoken down to, bypassed, or even not allowed to undertake a certain role purely because they're female. So it's commonly assumed that women will not have the same level of knowledge as men or cannot be in a position of authority in motorsport. These experiences are very belittling and will make women feel inferior. The fact that these experiences tend to occur more to women in voluntary, organisational, or event management roles could prevent women from volunteering in the future. And this is a massive issue because we know how difficult it can be to recruit volunteers in the first place, male or female. And without them, motorsport wouldn't exist. Lastly, stereotypical views are still very much evident. One club recently posted online saying even more experienced drivers sometimes find it hard to get the right man for the job. The wording instantly backs up stereotypical views on female drivers and infers that women aren't as capable. But out of all these quotes, and there's far more actually in my dissertation, these are just some key ones that I decided to display on this slide. What I found the most saddening are the two quotes on the very right, where young women involved in motorsport have shared how isolated and alienated they've felt. Throughout my dissertation, many women have bravely shared their experiences and perspectives in motorsport, and I feel a massive responsibility to help improve the inclusivity and accessibility of the environment so that more women can come and enjoy our sport. Overall, a number of barriers to female participation in motorsport have been identified. Some of these I haven't spoken about at length this evening, however, they were key findings in my research. So I'm now going to pass back to Laura Christmas, who will outline what we'd like to achieve.
First of all, we want to raise awareness of the inequality that does exist within grassroots motorsport. It is clearly being raised in elite motorsport, and that's why there are initiatives like Girls on Track in place to change the inequalities. And what we're trying to do is very similar. We want to increase awareness of the barriers that limit female involvement, just as Laura explained. And we want to raise awareness of the expectations of what an appropriate code of conduct looks like. Interestingly, the MSA UK Blue Book already includes a code of conduct, and it currently states that you should treat all competitors, marshals and officials equally with respect. However, that is clearly not always being abided by. As a result of raising awareness, this will hopefully come hand in hand with also raising expectations of the way women are treated and respected within motorsport, raising expectations of what are appropriate behaviours, and also raising expectations of what is the new normal. For example, female facilities at all events should be done without thinking. And finally, along with this, actions need to occur for this change to happen. When there are incidences when things don't go to plan, we need to be able to report and investigate these inappropriate behaviours and make women feel like they are safe. We need to encourage both men and women to speak up when they hear or see any issues or inequalities. And we want to encourage the increased participation of women in motorsport through a more welcoming and safe environment. So why are we doing this? Well, firstly, we want to make motorsport more accessible to all. And although our primary focus is on women, as that is where our research has come from and stemmed from, we also know that this will come hand in hand with other groups of people, all genders, ages and races. We want to increase participation, particularly for women and young people, as we can see that there are barriers that are existing. We want to increase awareness and expectations of equality in motorsport and catch up with the ever-changing world of today. We need to help give motorsport a future. So how do we plan to do it? So just as we have shared with you today, we would like to communicate these findings with other people, with club committees, event organisers, officials, marshals and competitors. We want to encourage clubs to include a code of conduct poster in all magazines, event regulations and finals, and display them at events or at club social events. We are also in the process of creating a video message to help share awareness. This can be shared on different platforms like social media. This will help to raise awareness of the expectations and encourage more participation for women who maybe don't have the links of family and relatives to get involved. We also want to make sure that we are creating a safer and more approachable environment for families and for women and other people. And by having our posters, our expectations highlighted and set out, that will help organisers to consider things we need to do to put this in place. So here is an example of what a poster could look like in your magazine, your regulations. You've been developing our bit of a catchphrase called Better Together, because although we're predominantly pushing for women's involvement in motorsport, Eventually, we want that to have a positive impact on all participants. We will be better together. We want to outline our code of conduct, which goes into more detail than highlighted in the Blue Book, to make it really explicit of what the expectations are. We also need to be able to direct people to where they can go to if there is a problem. Who do they need to talk to? Who is the safeguarding officer? How can Motorsport UK also help them? Where can they report an issue? So you might be wondering, okay, this is great, but what can I do? What does this have to do with me? Well, you are all part of motorsport, so you all have an influence. Whether you are involved in organising a club or just a competitor, there's something you can do, from sharing our materials, our presentation, etc., through your club magazines, social media sites, via email, event regulations and finals, or whatever platforms you may have. We need to consider equality, diversity, inclusion and safeguarding when organising and running events to ensure that our expectations are being met and that everyone is equally included.